All right. I'm going to call to order this work session of the Larimer County Board of Commissioners. Today is Monday, November 18th, 2019. I am Tom Donnelly, Chairman of the Board of Commissioners, joined today by John Cavales, Commissioner from District 1, Steve Johnson, Commissioner from District 2, and Linda Hoffman, our County Manager. This morning, the Board has a work session regarding economic and workforce development updates. Manager Hoffman, would you like to give some introductory remarks?
I don't think it's necessary. I'll let Jacob take it away.
Very good. Jacob, hi.
Well, we'll start with introductions. This is being broadcast?
It is. Yeah,
My name is Jacob Castillo, and I'm the Director of the Economic and Workforce Development Department, and my colleagues will introduce themselves.
Good morning, Mark Johnston, Larimer County Economic and Workforce Development, and I manage our young adult programs here for Larimer County.
Dina Jardine, Associate Director, Larimer County Economic and Workforce Development. Thanks.
So we appreciate the opportunity to come before the board and share one of our regular quarterly or almost quarterly updates with you. And thank you guys for being here, and Linda, our guests, Laura Walker and Lorenda Volker. We really enjoy the opportunity to tell our story, and we have some great stuff to get through today. I know we're scheduled for about an hour and a half. I think we'll beat that, but we'll beat that, Commissioner. We are happy to answer questions as the presentation goes through, but we do have time at the end to also have a conversation. So before we jump into things, I want to start with a quote. This is former Fed Chair Ben Bernanke said, "No economy can succeed without a high-quality workforce, particularly in an age of globalization and technical change." And we are absolutely in an age of globalization and technical change. So we'll be talking today about how we're working with young people to prepare them and connect them to the world of work. This has become increasingly important given our employment dynamics, not just in the county, but across the country, and making sure that our young people are equipped for what's coming in the years ahead. So I want to start with kind of a level set on who we are, and this is a slide that the board has seen before, but I think it's worth putting our mission, vision, and values on the screen once again. I won't read it to you, but the highlights are our drive to be a recognized leader in economic and workforce development. And when you look at our mission, it's really all about connections, connecting people to meaningful work and businesses, to talent and resources. And I always like to highlight the last statement in our mission is that we care and our customers matter. You will see that in the work we're presenting today, and we take that very seriously. We're a customer-focused organization. You see that as our first value listed there, with the rest kind of falling under that and supporting our work to make individuals and businesses better off in Larimer County. The way we've modeled our services, or maybe our department more, is around 6 core competencies. Again, this is not a slide that is foreign to you. We have our mission in the center and different core competencies around the hexagon: employment connections, coaching, BR&E, which is short for business retention and expansion, data analysis and distribution, skills development, and convening. Come back to that in just a moment. We serve both individuals and the business community, employers large and small, startups, adults, youth or young people, families, and the overall community. 2 primary locations for our office. We're at 200 West Oak in downtown Fort Collins and 200 Peridot in Loveland. We also have our staff is accustomed to being outside of the office. So you'll see us in the school districts, in different businesses, at the public libraries and other locations. So we try to have a strong presence in all the communities in Larimer County and some of the community hubs within our community. This is not an all-encompassing list of services that we provide, but you can see a handful of things up there, both for business services, from education and training, to enterprise zone management, to business retention and expansion, which is an expertise of ours. And then you see our services for young adults and job seekers, posting connecting people to job postings, workshops, skills verification, and credential attainment. And today, we're going to be focusing predominantly on the skills development component of our core competencies. In January, we talked about how our department had come together. We were supporting the guiding principles of the county. In the second quarter, we talked about convening our partners and the work we're doing in the economic development community. We had some very good news to announce with our business retention and expansion program, and some data that we had collected through one-on-one or team visits with different businesses in the community. And today we're going to be focusing predominantly on services to young people. To set the stage for this, we've spent a lot of time thinking about the future of work. We've looked at a number of different recently published studies. McKinsey has, I think, one of the most fascinating pieces of literature currently out on the subject, but Brookings, as well as other think tanks, have some fantastic data and insights about how the world of work is changing. So just some quick highlights. By 2030, which, when I was a kid, that sounded like the future. That was hoverboards and, the Back to the Future kind of cool stuff that we were all expecting. But 2030 is just around the corner. That's about a decade away. We will see robotic pharmacists, robotic truck drivers or automated self-driving trucks, robotic health care workers. That will all be commonplace. We see some of that happening now with the Internet of Things and how we connect our lives to the Internet. You'll see 3D printed homes and cars. As a matter of fact, some of that stuff is happening right now in some parts of the U.S. and other parts of the globe. We're seeing that the percent of workers in permanent employment could drop 9%. 85% of the jobs available today that will be created in the future are not even jobs that we know today. So the futurists are talking about organ creators, developing organs for the human body, augmented reality journey builder, digital currency advisor, drone traffic optimizer, and human machine team managers, because humans and machines will be working more closely together as time goes on. So we want to make sure that we're on the leading edge of understanding some of these trends, and that we're also preparing our young people with the knowledge, skills, and ability to be successful in this environment. So while it's proposed that we'll lose jobs to automation, this is, as we've seen in the past, a cycle of creative destruction. So jobs will be destroyed, but new opportunities and jobs will also be created. We expect that more jobs will be created than destroyed, which has some interesting implications for us where we're at in Larimer County, because we already face a labor shortage. But we'll come back to that in a moment. When we look at the skills that are necessary to be competitive in the future, it's about complex problem solving, critical thinking, and creativity. This dovetails with work that's being done on the strategic plan, identifying the traits that are necessary for Larimer County employees. Additionally, we see people skills and communication, trade skills, and the ability to deal with complexity and ambiguity. These tend to be more human attributes. These are things that humans do better than machines in many ways. And we want to make sure that our young people have these skills as they enter the workforce. So coupled with the changing work environment, we also have an aging workforce. So our state demographer has pointed this out. Colorado, by nature of who's already here and who continues to move here, is getting older. We get one day older every morning. So
And that's when it's going good.
right on our best days.
That's when it's working.
So when we've done an environmental scan of the labor force in northern Colorado, and in some key occupations and industries, there's more than 25% of the workers who are 55 or older. We are starting to see the crest of the wave of retirements, not just within our own organization, but others around the county. And businesses need to be thinking about succession planning and how they will prepare themselves for some of these dynamics in the labor market. We know that our current labor market is already strained. Our demand for people outstrips supply. It's not just a volume issue because there is not enough workers, but we also have some of the mismatch of skills. We've heard about the skills mismatch where the knowledge, skills, and ability available in our market are not necessarily all of the knowledge, skills, and ability for that are needed to be competitive today. It's hard to recruit and in some cases retain our folks in Larimer County. There's some escalating costs on housing, access to childcare, transportation around the region are all factors that impact this. And the situation is likely to get worse before it gets better. Now this is, I'm kind of the wah-wah trombone here. The bad news, you're going to hear what we're doing to try to address this situation. But we know that the dynamics of the labor market are such that unemployment's low, that has its own ramifications, and that our workforce is aging. So that will create more openings in the future. So with that, we're going to dive into more of the skills development component with a focus on our youth. And we want to highlight how we're connecting young people in Larimer County in original and unique ways to the world of youth. So there's a great quote from FDR: "We cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future." And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mark Johnston to talk about some of our programs.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody. Mark Johnston again. So a couple of facts real quick to kind of discuss the scope of youth services here in Larimer County. We're talking young people, 14 to 24 typically, and a couple occasions 25. We're talking about services for all young adults, regardless of income, for example, and then we do have specific services to wrap additional supports around those who are most in need. A few other things: small but mighty team. Although there's 6 FTEs there, we're probably the equivalent of 5 when you add up 40 hours a week. We are absolutely youth-centered. However, we're business influenced. And we like to take our show on the road. Young people come to us in our facilities, but we also have to go out and find young people through partnerships, as you can imagine. So what in Larimer County, what we have essentially tagged our youth division as is Career Rise. So that's that logo that you see up there. And we did a quick look back 5 years, and we've served 11,541 young people. So somewhere in the neighborhood of over 5 years, what would that equate to? About 2,500 young people a year, give or take. And of those young people, I think it's important to note, almost 6,000 of those young adults had a very direct, meaningful, intensive service. So although we have some programming that is done online through our labor exchange kind of web portal called Connecting Colorado, almost 6,000 of these have been unique connections in examples such as workshops where we go to a school partner, a career road trip, which you'll learn more about, where we take young people to businesses, a young entrepreneur tournament, maybe an open house to share with youth and parents what we do. So, some of the primary services, Career Rise, I'd like to think of it as a four-legged stool. We have services, and each leg represents a different stool. So follow my metaphor here. First leg is services during the school year. Many young adults are in school, so it's important for us to connect with those school-based partners. Leg 2, summer services. Most young people then enter summer. They're out in our communities, and we provide an enhanced set of supports for those students. Third leg, think of our most disconnected kids in Larimer County. We're talking about our high school dropouts, our teen parents, our kids with disabilities. This is where we wrap services specifically around these young adults. And I'll speak a little bit more about that here in a bit. And then our fourth leg, I'd like to pull off to the side, which is our Larimer County Conservation Corps. This is some of the finest work-based learning that you will find, frankly, nationally. And we're proud to have that as that fourth leg. So in Compass, let me start there. So 600 young adults who are considered disconnected have been served out of Encompass. So I want you to think about those 600, and over 95% of those kids are completely disconnected from school. They've either withdrawn, dropped out, or maybe they've graduated, but they're spinning in our community, unconnected to any particular support. So then take those young folks, and 60% of them come from low-income homes. 36% of those are connected to either our SNAP families, our food stamp families, or our Colorado Works program. So I say that to highlight the internal partnership that we have with both of those particular service sets. Almost 30% of these young folks have had an active IEP in the past. So this is a document that signifies a disability, typically provided in the school system, or they're connected to our disability partners. So nearly a third. I also want you to think 27% have been connected to law enforcement, and another 20% parents or teen parents. So these 600 young people, this is one of those legs of the stool under the Encompass program. And we're very proud of a handful of services. First of all, very individualized career counseling, case management, support from those staff that you saw on the slide. We are very proud of creating connections for these young folks in our work-based learning programs. So almost 120 of those 600 connected specifically to a subsidized internship skill development learning program through businesses in our community. Almost 200 obtained that high school equivalency, GED. So think about that. These are over a 5-year period through our customized tutoring, but also through partnerships then that we will lean on. For example, our Center for Adult Learning partner, housed out of Front Range Community College, have teamed together to really provide an education avenue for these young folks. And yeah, we're just really excited to continue to support this leg of the stool in Compass.
You mentioned IEP. The acronym stands for?
So Individualized Education Plan. And those are typically provided through our K through 12 partners. It helps provide additional supports for those students when they're in school. The young people that we're seeing, or about a third of those kids, have dropped out of school for one reason or another, and there's dozens and dozens of reasons. So they lean into our system to say, how can you help us pursue that alternative diploma, help us create a pathway for work, help us figure out where we fit in this world, essentially. So,
Work-based learning?
yeah. 112 was the number specifically for work-based learning activities. So think about it, if you're a business owner, you may host a young person in your organization, develop a skill plan to address both the work readiness learning, but then also some technical skill learning. And then we deploy those young people. Businesses have to say yes. They interview. And then these young folks essentially go through a 300-hour work experience paid to develop those skills. So you can imagine they're deployed in a variety of ways. One is, as I mentioned, skill development. Two, second reason oftentimes is helping a young person figure out where they fit. So it's used as a career exploration activity. Third, it's networking. I mean, if we can build the village around these young people with more and more adults who are mentors, who are guides. These young people, we believe, will be more successful. So, yeah. This part of the stool, our Conservation Corps, we are going on, I think, 27 years of administering the Larimer County Conservation Corps out of Economic and Workforce Development. So a 5-year look-back period to stay with that theme. 232 unique Corps members experienced one of 6 different work-based learning models that we operate. This doesn't include the additional temporary mentor staff and lead staff that we hire, which almost takes us to 275 young people.
Wild and Scenic Film Festival.
So imagine a crew working up at Rocky Mountain National Park. I highlight that. We partnered with Colorado State University's Warner College of Natural Resources, and they made a $25,000 investment to match with a $70,000 Department of Interior investment, Rocky Mountain National Park. And essentially what that paid for was 9 CSU students who were graduating from the natural resource program, but they had had no field experience. So it's incredibly important that we build the learning in the field as well. So these young folks pivoted into work in the park, worked right next, hand in hand with park maintenance staff. That happened this summer up in our Estes Park community. A couple other core examples would be local land managers, U.S. Forest Service. And I say this because I think it's important to demonstrate our core is really a fee-for-service generating model. We really go out and we fundraise. So our commissioners right now have the poster for the 5th annual Wild and Scenic Film Fest, which is a fundraiser that our core staff run. But we essentially go out and then we seek partners with land managers throughout Larimer County, and then really get out and deploy those young people in these work crews. So you can see a couple pictures up here. One to the left is in a U.S. Forest Service property where we have young people pulling material that has been sawed. And then off to the right, I believe that's Bellevue Watson Fish Hatchery, where these young folks are up in Bellevue cleaning raceways where fish are grown, essentially. So.
I know. Oh, go ahead, Dina.
Commissioner John Cafalas, if you remember Operation Brightside from many years ago, that's what this has turned into over those years. So it's gone from a very small program to quite a large program.
Yeah.
And Encompass is currently what you would have done years ago under JTPA.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm wondering if we have a video.
Well, we'll go to the Yet video after this, but
Okay.
the core video we'll hold on.
Okay. So, yeah, just a handful of examples of this this 4th leg that we operate out of our Career Rise program. So, we're currently put in a little plug. We're currently hiring 8 core members for our water and energy program that's going to start January 6th. This is funded by City of Fort Collins Utilities and Loveland Water and Power. And those investments essentially provide almost a half a year energy audit, water conservation program where young men and women are heading into our community, working typically in low-income homes to help those consumers save money on their utility by installing products, doing energy assessments. So, again, work-based learning at its finest. Let's get these young people out experiencing work.
Just interject a couple comments. I know with the Water and Energy Corps, city utilities have hired a number of individuals from that program, and when we think about the work we're doing in publicly owned lands, while we have a good relationship with federal land managers and state managers and the county, we think that there's more opportunity with the county. I mean, the Corps really is a great way of getting young people some work experience, and that may be an area of opportunity where we can grow the Corps program. I also need to commend Mark and his team, especially Mally. They really do raise a lot of money to make this happen. And I think even though we flew through the comments we discussed the partnership with CSU, very innovative way of looking at how we fund this program, give young people work experience that ties back to their education. Is really cool to see how these partnerships are making an impact on young people's lives.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Dina. This is another unique service we wanted to highlight. Sector partnerships in our region are alive and well. Manufacturing, healthcare in particular, and an exploration of a sector partnership in the skilled trades construction field. And these are business driven. Jacob, do you want to give a little overview of sector partnerships?
Yeah. So the sector partnership model's not necessarily a new concept, but the way we've implemented in Larimer County is next level. As Mark said, it's business driven. So the priorities of the partnership, the work that gets done, is identified by the business community. But public partners like education providers, economic developers, workforce development professionals, all rally around these goals and objectives to make sure that we're working on the right things that are important to business, and at the same time we're aligned as a public system, so we don't have individuals knocking on all these businesses' door asking, "Hey, we're from the government. How can we help?" Or we want to support you. We just need to know more. It's a very focused and connected effort across organizations and institutions. Both the manufacturing and the health sector partnership have been recognized as national models and leaders in this space. And one of the very cool and exciting things that we do is this summer internships. We have not just folks from our team, but businesses from our community who are going to other states and regions of the U.S. to talk about how we implement this. And Mark's going to give some details on the summer internship program.
4 years in. Fully funded by the sector partnerships, 50%, and the other 50% business in our community. So we essentially help create the match and the connection for 16 to 18-year-olds. This is one of those services not connected to poverty necessarily or barriers. So these are young people living in our communities from pretty much anywhere, who come in, they apply for work because they're interested in learning more about the healthcare occupations or manufacturing. And businesses interview these young folks and then hire them. And we act as then kind of the payroll paid system so that we ensure that there is a wage that goes with this. So this is something that's very exciting for us, and it has grown exponentially. Although 20 young adults, it was 15 last year, and it was 10, and it started with 5. So we feel like there's some good growth, and it offers a unique way for us to provide services for young men and women.
And some businesses that they're placed in, Columbine Health Systems. I think we had UC Health. Wolf Robotics. So these are some great employers in our community who need a pipeline of talent, and this is developing young people with skills that are going to make them that much more competitive in this labor market.
So when you think about Career Rise as the overarching umbrella of youth services, Encompass, the first program that Mark talked about, is federally funded. That's where we get the resources. The Conservation Corps secures contracts to do their work, and their budget's about $500,000 a year, so they procure the contracts. And then the summer internship is funded by the sector partnerships and the employers. So all these different kinds of funding is coming in to create a wide range of service opportunities, and we're not done yet, but it's just like, there's not one funding stream that is driving all these services.
Yeah. Career road trips, great example of the partnership that we have with Estes Park, with Loveland Schools, and with Fort Collins. So all three school districts. Over 5,000 young adults over the last 5 years have been on what we call a career road trip that we have helped lead. So just as the name implies, imagine hopping on a bus and taking a trip to 2 to 4 businesses, ideally and typically businesses that are showing some sort of talent pipeline need, and getting these young folks on the floor, talking to employees, talking to managers, understanding really what manufacturing means. For example, dispelling myths, so that these young folks then exit these experiences with a better idea so they can make better career decision-making choices. Ironically, and we didn't put it up here, for 4 straight years we've been doing the same thing with Poudre School District teachers. We'd like to scale that into Loveland and Estes Park, but our teachers are hungry for information to build confidence to then take industry-related experiences and build it into the classroom. So for the last 4 years, Poudre School District has contracted with us in a fee-for-service opportunity, and approximately 30 teachers each year go through that 1 to 2 day experience. So, and this is just this particular service is one. They're all my favorite, but the Young Entrepreneur Tournament
That was a good recovery. It's like kids.
is.
Favorite child.
There's some like pretty young kids in there.
Yeah, let me tell you the story of Young Entrepreneur Tournament. So this was right around the beginning of the Great Recession that we felt in 07, 08, 09. And we were looking around, and because I manage our laid off worker programs, we started to see significant volume coming in through our unemployment insurance recipients. And we were looking at each other and realized that these adults were competing for the work opportunities that typically went to seasonal kids. So we said, we got to help these kids make their own money. So we did a scan of the of partners. There wasn't a youth entrepreneurship program outside of some junior achievement stuff, obviously, that has been alive and well in our schools, but really taking a business idea, moving it through an accelerator program, so that at the end of it, these young men and women come out with viable ideas. So in 2008, we launched it. We've had a successful Young Entrepreneur Tournament every year. We've actually scaled it into twice a year. Otter Cares is our principal sponsor. So, Tom, because Otter Cares comes in with that investment, it allows us to say, you know what, the federal definition of age is typically 14.
Mm-hmm.
We can actually work with some 13-year-olds and 12-year-olds and 11-year-olds. And the young lady in the front row, she took 3rd place in the Young Entrepreneur Tournament about a month ago, and she's in 3rd grade.
What was that? Really? What was her business?
So her business was bookmarks,
Okay.
custom bookmarks.
Wow.
And it's just amazing the breadth of opportunities that come out of there. We have a video, and we're going to show that here in just a moment. But think of young people in our community making food products, or they're catering. They've made longboard, skateboards. They've made seasonal greeting cards. And as you see our facilitator, what she says, that's really the magic that happens.
I hired one of the young entrepreneurs one year to.
Did you?
The county did to cater the
yeah.
MPO meeting
Yeah,
in this building.
Huh, I
We
remember
hired-
that.
We hired one of the competitors. I don't know if she's the winner or not, but she was.
she was that year.
Yeah,
Karis.
she's great. Yeah, she was really good. She did a great job.
Well, yeah.
The reason
She
I
was very
wanted
good.
entrepreneur is because I thought that if nobody ever wanted to pursue their ideas, the world would never change, and I thought I wanted to help
It's not
make
me.
it better.
Your computer's muted, Jacob.
So as Jacob's working on this, so this is one of those services available to all young people in Larimer County. Highly diverse, not only by age, by what we saw in that initial slide, but economically, et cetera. We ran this year's tournament out of our new Loveland office. So typically the tournament has been run out of our Fort Collins offices. So we were thrilled about that.
I know. Yeah, we can just read it if the closed captioning works. Look, here's all the kids. Here's all the participants. It's all the way up.
To view the world through the
How did they get selected to be? I mean, you must have had more applicants than just these few guys.
So for this year, we scaled it into Loveland, and so that was our applicant pool.
Oh, okay.
Tom, yep.
So they all got to participate.
They all got to participate. The size will vary between year to year. I think at our peak, we've been 25, 26 students, and then anywhere from 8 to 10, depending on our lower range.
What does that mean? We scaled it into Loveland.
So we basically duplicated. So Otter Cares funded us double.
Yeah, they're doing two. They're doing a Loveland program.
We
This is-
typically run it out of the 5th floor here, and then over at Innisphere, the young people pitch. So it's a 5-day program. We were able to, 5 week. We were able to not only run a Fort Collins, but get in our Loveland community and run one out of there.
So this is a
The reason
Loveland
I-
only.
This is Loveland only, Tom.
Okay, good. Great.
What you're
I
going to
wanted to become an entrepreneur
This is the Fort Collins one that happened.
is because
Make it
I
bigger,
thought
Linda?
that if
You can't do anything. Never mind. Can you make it bigger?
nobody ever
Working on
wanted to pursue
No, it's fine. We can see it.
Can?
I think so.
their ideas, the world would never change, and I thought I wanted to help make it better.
The ability to view the world through the eyes of an entrepreneur is a real powerful
Yeah, exactly.
piece of information to grasp. You can't
World better.
give
Found
that
your
to
parents'
anybody. You have to
basement.
walk them through the process, and I think that's what the Young Entrepreneur Tournament provides to the community. We work with young people ages 18 and under and help them cultivate an idea and turn that into a working business plan, and then follow that up with support and mentorship to really get these young businesses off the ground and watch them, flourish throughout the community.
They come 4 Saturdays in a row for 5-hour workshops. I push them through kind of a broad overview of all the steps and stages of starting a business, building, developing their products.
I thought it was just like a super cool opportunity that we got to learn from an entrepreneur that's, in business and doing stuff instead of kind of a little more of a stiff curriculum at school.
I was a little nervous about going because, I didn't know what they would think of my idea or, if it was good. But I learned there that really any idea can, become good and develop into a good idea.
I think a lot of them come in and they're like, if I share my idea, somebody's going to steal it. Or if I put this out there, people are going to think it's stupid or criticize it. If we can break them of that perception at this age, I feel like we put them at a real advantage for when they're grown and doing the same thing.
Hello, my name is Aubrey McCartney, founder of Caring Collies, the founder and CEO of Telling Teddy.
I'm the CEO of Kichi Recycling.
My company is Joyful Dog Training.
I am the founder and CEO of Domentico Fashion. I'm also the designer. It is a cooling box that is secure and discreet. and that is focused on the convenience of the customers.
I've created an attachment to a zipline that enables kids of all abilities and ages to ride it without feeling left out. Would you like to know more?
Things really got big when Otter Cares came into our lives. It's not only been just financial. It's been somebody in our corner that shares our vision, shares our mission, and gives, time and support of their employees, of the Otters. We couldn't have made the Young Entrepreneur Tournament what it is without the emotional support, the belief that Otter Cares has in the Young Entrepreneur Tournament makes us a better program.
I know that the things they've learned and the kind of the applicable nature of the skills that they've gained, they're going to take into their first job, into their first presentation they make in front of the big bosses, into the first interview that they go through, there's so many things that they won't even make the connection to now that I know will end up coming back to help them through their careers and through their lives, whether they decide to become an entrepreneur or not. You realize at that day that I've made an impact in that kid's life that they'll never forget, and that's the stuff that's what makes living all worth it.
I feel like I became more of an entrepreneur because of YET, so I was thinking of ideas and more products or businesses.
Being a part of the Young Entrepreneurship Tournament was an incredible experience and kind of brought me into a little more of an entrepreneurship lifestyle. I was kind of like thinking of ideas and, progressing my business idea all the time, and it was really cool to see that.
$1,000 is Aiden Lee with Shop.
I won YET and I'm feeling fantastic, and it's great to see all the work that I put in pay off. And I can't stop smiling.
It's to see a young person come in not sure of themselves and sure of their business ideas, and then to be able to leave and say, there's nothing to stop, I can absolutely do this, and then to watch them do it. It's an incredible time. And so I'm just so thankful for what Otter Cares has provided us to be able to do it. I'm just so excited to be a part of this Young Entrepreneur Tournament every year.
It's really important that YET is here for kids who may not know a lot about business and how to get your product out there. So YET really helps teach them about that. So if they have another idea, they can kind of pursue that with better understanding.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What'd the kid do that won this year?
So Aiden, who was up there, so groceries are being delivered to your door more and more.
Yeah.
So he's created almost like a dog door, but something you can install on the outside exterior of your home, which allows products to be put in and then pushed into your home, and it's refrigerated.
Wow. That's a good idea.
Beer and wine.
Yeah, exactly.
My dog will love that if he
Yeah. So he had 3 or 4 different kind of product line ideas.
Prototypes and stuff? And he actually built those?
He had scale models.
I see.
for tiny houses.
So, but he saw a problem, and he had a pretty inventive way of solving it. So
Wow.
I like that
But
idea.
that's a cool idea, right?
Yeah, because people aren't home and
Yeah, because even
can
think
do
about
it
it
when
now.
one's home.
If you get milk delivered to your house, it sits out there on the front porch in the wooden box. I mean, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
One of my favorite parts of this video is the young people saying, my name is, and I'm the CEO.
Yeah,
of this
exactly.
and it's like, wow, these are 15, 16-year-olds, president and CEO.
Yeah.
That makes a huge difference in people's lives. This is not a program, of course you guys know this, but we don't have to do this. We do this because we care and our customers matter. This is the right thing to do, and it helps young people, and it helps our community. And that is heartwarming every time I watch it.
So, yeah.
Cool.
So before I turn it over to Jacob, the other thing that audience members or you may be wondering about is how do we know if we're successful? How do you know if it really works?
Yeah, that's a good question.
And I want to assure you that we are incredibly deliberate on every one of these programs to make sure they do. Some of them, the report card is provided to us through our federal partners out of Department of Labor, where we're required to meet certain benchmarks to help young people transition to employment. Second quarter after they leave us, fourth quarter after they leave us. We're held to certain wages on average. We're held to how many young people leave with a verifiable means something credit, certificate, credential. Again, I can assure you Larimer County Economic and Workforce Development has, leads the state of Colorado in those performance metrics. And we're very, very proud, not only at the heart stuff and the feel-good stuff, but also we know it works. So I just wanted to
Thank you, Mark. This morning, we also wanted to spend some time on the high school equivalency. I'm going to hand it off to Dina. I mean, Mark had touched on this and how this is an important intervention in young people's lives, but we'd also put in a service proposal, and I know that there was some additional questions on how we work with others in the community. We have a very strong spirit of partnership, so we'll discuss that. Talk about the different efforts in getting the HSE for people in our community and making sure that there's an appropriate level of partnerships but no redundancy. And Dina's going to explain some of the nuance of this program and how that dovetails with other services provided in our community. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dina.
First, I'd like to say thank you. It's our understanding that at this point, our service proposal for continuing the HSE services is in the budget to be considered and approved in December. So thank you so much. I hope that's not a surprise.
No, we knew.
Okay, thank you.
We know.
I think that all of you have spoken at a graduation, so you've seen the young people in person and experienced what it is like for them to actually go through a graduation ceremony. So the federal law that guides our Encompass program has changed in the last few years, where the federal government now really emphasizes work-based learning. They are de-emphasizing remediation and the attainment of a GED or high school equivalency. The change in focus has been so dramatic that the federal government tells us how much of our federal funds we have to spend for work-based learning. So what has happened is the change in the federal government's legislation, consistent decreases in federal funding for about 5 to 6 years, have yielded us with less money that we can support for young adults to achieve their high school equivalency. We still can use staffing funds that come to us from the federal government to pay for the connections to the youth, for the career counseling, for those pieces, and of course work-based learning, because that is the focus. But what we have lost is the funding available to pay for one-on-one tutoring. And that is what we asked for support from you for this year, and that is what we believe has been supported. There are other providers in Larimer County that provide remediation services for young adults. We are the only remediation source for disconnected youth that they do not have to pay for that service. If they come into our Encompass program, they do not have their high school equivalency, and they need it, we do match them with a tutor who sits down with them, analyzes what they need, not the whole thing. She does testing, she looks at their testing results, and then she focuses, and actually it is a she in both offices, she works with them to really pinpoint what they need to learn and what they need to master in order to successfully achieve their high school equivalency. If the young adult benefits from classroom training, then we make those referrals to the Center for Adult Learning or other partners for the classroom environment. But we are the only entity that will take a low-income, disconnected youth and provide them with one-on-one customized tutoring. And for that, We believe that that has been a key factor in our success of moving many, many, many young adults very quickly and efficiently to their high school equivalency. And the customized tutoring is what you are formally supporting, so we thank you for that. But we do work with all kinds of other partners. There are many services that do customized tutoring available. Many of them come for families who have the resources to pay for them. But this is one that our young adults can connect to. Other questions, thoughts, concerns?
So I'm not clear how this program has changed over the years with the changing of funding, as far as the number of students served, where they get services. Are we maintaining past levels of students served and quality of service?
No.
Or has it been decreased?
It's been decreased. So we have several things happening concurrently. Our federal funds are consistently reducing every single year. And then with those reduced funds, the federal government is telling us more specifically how we have to spend them, and helping young adults get their high school equivalency through customized one-on-one tutoring is not on that list.
So how many kids have we served in the past, and how many are we going to serve next year?
Yeah. Mark, do you want to take that?
I mean, we were probably at a high point, 250, probably 4 or 5 years ago. We'll probably be in the neighborhood of 160 ballpark. We still have 7 months left in our program year, but that's what our funding expects us to do. We try hard to beat it every year.
So what will it be next year?
So it's unclear because we're annually funded.
Yeah.
But a lot of indicators are pointing continued cuts.
The board's put 25,000, no?
So what's in the proposed budget is the money is there,
Yes.
but it is sitting in,
Oh.
it's sitting in the inter-fund transfer place, because at the time that the proposed budget was adopted or was put forward, there wasn't information about how this program related to other programs, and there was talk about maybe having additional conversations with some partners and seeing if there were ways to leverage the money further. So it's absolutely true that the money is there, but the commissioners have not yet provided direction on exactly how that will be spent.
Plan is not.
Right, right.
So, yeah.
And that, this is November. The budget isn't adopted until December, so if that's a change the commissioners want to make. But right now, the money is not going directly to the workforce center. It's sitting in a interdepartmental transfer holding place until it's decided exactly how that would be spent and possibly leveraged or shared.
Sure. So it could help subsidize programming at Ames or Front Range. It does the same thing, or some similar type of organization.
That's what's currently in the proposed budget. I'm sorry if there was confusion about that.
We knew that.
I don't remember anything. Is that what you asked for, 25,000?
25.5, yes.
Okay. Yep. So and that's going to pay for the tutoring.
Correct.
So if the kid doesn't have money, they have a tutor, where do they get their classroom?
They would get it at the Center for Adult Learning.
And how do they pay for that?
We could pay for the fee, but typically,
I mean, won't that be a problem?
yeah.
I mean, how have we paid for that in the past?
No,
Federal funds pay for that?
Yeah, so Center for Adult Learning is the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act Title II partner. So they receive federal resources, and then their service delivery model is a classroom-based learning.
Yep.
I think it's important to know, 90% of the young people who come in, they have a fear of returning to the class. There's social anxiety at an all-time high that I've ever seen. And when because we are customer-centered, when the young person is provided their opportunities, we're oftentimes pushing a co-enrollment, essentially. Classroom-based learning paired with a customized tutor is going to net you, quicker route.
Yeah.
So we're working with Center for Adult Learning.
That's part of Front Range, though.
Yes.
So they are housed and administered at
Yeah,
the community
that's-
college.
yeah.
How many kids apply
To Center for Adult Learning.
for our
Your course.
part of it?
Your
for-
class.
For the
So-
tutoring, I guess, and qualify?
Yeah, that's a.
What percentage do you take and which percentage do you turn away?
So the good news is we
anybody
haven't
away.
had to turn any away.
Turn anybody away.
Yeah, that's the good news up to this point. Now, we have lost the equivalent of 3 FTEs in the last 5 years from that picture of the team that was up there. So, but we try very hard to stay open year-round to provide access.
And where do you find these kids? How do they
That's a
come
good
to you?
question. They're all over. Word of mouth really is the best. We have our internal partnerships with our Works families, our Employment First, our SNAP families, but also just think community partners. And then our school districts, the deans at our local high schools, if there's a young person who's formally withdrawn, which often isn't the case. Kids just quit going. But if the formal withdrawal happens, then oftentimes there's a referral at that point if the school district doesn't have an alternative program that matches.
So if the workforce center wasn't providing the customized tutoring services, would these students get the customized tutoring services? Could they get those services at Front Range Community College's Adult Learning Center or somewhere
I
else?
don't believe they would, no.
And I think that's the major difference. We offer customized training for specific subject matter, where Center for Adult Learning is scheduled courses. You know, you have the attendance, and sometimes that works with young people's schedule, or their other obligations. Sometimes it doesn't. So this is a very quick, very focused intervention that gets them to that high school equivalency, rather than having to enroll in a multi-month kind of semester-based program. So,
Any other
what-
questions?
No? Going.
Okay.
It was Warren Buffett who said, someone's sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. And that's what that's what we're doing today is planting trees, you know, making a difference for young people. And I really want to give Mark and his team, but very specifically Mark, a lot of credit. 15 years ago, before he joined our youth program, as I understand it, was part-time. It was, you know, the summer job hunt. He's grown this to a robust suite of year-round services that help young people.
I know.
Yeah, you guys just saw it, from high school equivalency to launching new businesses, get experience on the job. I mean, he's done a phenomenal job of making this program top flight. He's well respected by not just the department, but peers across the state, and is seen as an absolute leader in this space. So, Mark, I wanted to make sure the board heard that. Thank you for the work you're doing, because it makes a huge difference.
Thank you.
Good.
So we invite any questions, comments, or feedback.
How well are we doing to implement employment first objectives?
So Employment First objectives. Employment First actually locally in the county is a program that ties to food assistance. It's a mandated participation. So I just want you to know that when you say Employment First locally, that many people are going to think food assistance, mandated participation for work activities. I think you're referring to the
I am.
state initiative
The latter.
on supporting individuals with disabilities to become employed. Okay.
Linda.
Mark, can you speak to what the team's doing?
Yeah, in our youth program, again, almost 30%, John, of our young people who lean into this Encompass program are folks with documented disabilities. And I say documented very intentionally because oftentimes there's disabilities that are undocumented. So when that happens, we oftentimes will wrap services around those young students and their family supports with the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. They are the fourth title of the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act. So a lot of co-case management, a lot of trying to leverage resources, expertise, as best as we can. Sometimes we will take the lead on certain cases. Other times, the participant asks Division of Voc Rehab to do that.
So what level of success are we having to help people with intellectual and developmental disabilities find meaningful employment?
I would say that that is a growth area for John. I mean, it's a growth area for us, that it's not something that we have a tremendous amount of direct experience right now. I will tell you that we are in the process of hiring the individual who participated with us on Ability Day. So we're in the process of that. But I would say that that whole area of work, there's a lot of potential that's not yet been realized.
We've had the discussion with the workforce board and in terms of tapping into untapped talent pools in our community. One of those is individuals with IDD. We want to practice what we preach, and I want to, make sure that our department is doing what we can to employ people in that space. And we did have a very good experience in Ability Days. It was so well received by staff and the individual with whom we got to work that we're pursuing that hire as we speak. So we hope we're the tip of the spear, so to speak, in the county and trying to engage not just our department, but then also the business community so they know what opportunities are there.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Great work. Good to hear from you, and good to see you all. Yeah.
Want to show the core video?
Oh, yeah, I want to show the core video. Show it.
We can get it
Now that we know how to do it.
But
What's the core
well,
video?
I don't know. It's on a different jump drive.
Oh,
You know what? How about we just I'll email it out.
Very good.
We'll,
Okay.
Make sure you guys get it.
All right. Anything else?
Not today, Commissioner.
Board's adjourned. We'll be back, we have elected officials lunch, and then we'll be back in the afternoon for another work session.
Thank you all.
Down by about 100% before he left office. Still, people are going to question the timing of his decision, and now voters will have to decide if he announces whether it's genuine. Lynn?
Christina Alessi, thank you for that. Well, President Trump made an unexpected visit to Walter Reed Medical Center over the weekend, and it didn't follow the usual protocol, according to a source. The White House is saying this is just part of his routine checkup. So CNN chief medical correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta is on this story. Sanjay.
Well, Lynn, there's no question that this was an unusual visit to the hospital.